Hi, I'm Brad with Venture Cranes. Today we're covering Section 7 of CSA B167, commissioning and testing, right? So this section makes it clear before any new, modified or reinstalled crane or hoist is put into service, it must be inspected, tested and load tested. The goal is simple: to prove the crane is compliant, safe and ready for use. So general requirements, CSA 7.1 says all cranes and hoists must be commissioned and tested according to the manufacturer's instructions, facility procedures, and the CSA requirements in clause 7.2 and 7.3. So this applies to all cranes and hoist types. Though the scope may vary, for example, a portable hoist doesn't need commissioning every time it's moved, but a new or modified hoist must still be load tested, right? After a crane is installed or modified, it must be fully inspected and tested before being placed into service. The crane must be reviewed and approved by an engineer or by a competent inspector meeting CSA 6.2 qualifications. Records of the inspection, including the date, inspector's name and findings, must be retained for the life of the crane. The inspection includes confirming compliance with relevant standards, manufacturer specs and OHS regulations. So prior to first use, CSA requires testing of all motions, hoist, trolley and bridge, limit switches tested at full speed, limiting and indicating devices such as overload limiters or indicators, hoist lifting limit switch tested at 10% above rated capacity. So this is your load limiter. Circuit controls, interlocks and sequences of operation, right? Hoist brake function tested at full speed with rated load. The hoist brakes must stop the load from full speed 3 times consecutively without overheating, right? So we take the crane through its motions, and you're not trying to break it, but you're pushing it harder than it would be pushed under its normal use, right? What we do during a load test, you won't normally do in day-to-day operations, and we do this because we're trying to test to see if this thing will fail during regular use, right? That's the whole point. That's why these specs lay out all these steps, right? So bridge and trolley brakes, stopping distance must comply with CMAA specification 70. Bumper alignment, crane buffers must align with runway end stops. Let me just go back, bridge and trolley brakes. So for your bridge brakes, a general rule of thumb is the length of your end truck. The crane must be able to stop within a length of an end truck, right? So when you're checking your crane, even during normal, maybe your frequent inspections, look if your crane can stop within the length of an end truck, right? If it can, great. If it doesn't, your brakes need to be adjusted. Bumper alignment, crane buffers must align with runway end stops. Load test and structural integrity test. This is done per clause 7.3 of CSA B167, right? Any defects must be corrected immediately and the tests repeated until compliance is achieved. The owner or their representative should witness all tests and they will receive the final compliance documentation, right? Any crane we build and install or any crane that we do major repairs on, the crane will go through this, right? It's not just a matter of putting it back on and pushing start and off you go. People's lives are at stake. Equipment's at stake. You got to do things right? That's why we've got standards. Follow them. Load testing is required for all new, modified or reinstalled cranes or hoists. At Venture Cranes, we have the benefit of being the Canadian waterweights agent. So we carry waterweights and conduct load tests from coast to coast. Right? I've done load testing from Africa through Europe into Canada and even down in the States. Right? So load testing is something that is a part of who we are. It's just a normal part of our jobs, right? Supervision, the test must be performed under the supervision of an engineer or competent inspector. Structural integrity, so section 7.3.2, the crane girder is tested by measuring vertical deflection under rated load plus trolley weight. Deflection must not exceed the maximum allowed by design specifications, right? So sometimes you have to ask the engineer what specs the bridge or runway, whatever you're testing, was designed to, so you can do the math and see if the structure actually passes, right? Operational testing, so this would be section 7.3.3. All crane motions, holding brakes and travel brakes must be tested at 125% of rated load, and that's why a load test is conducted 100%, 110, and then 125. The 125, we're testing our brakes, right? That's all we're after there. The crane doesn't need to run at full speed under overload, but it must lift and hold without difficulty, right? So slow motion up, let it go, brake holds, slow motion down, let it go, brake holds, and we've had it where the brake doesn't hold, right? So at 125%, slow motion down, crane drops its load, right? Back to engineering, we have an issue. Test report, section 7.3.4, a written test report must be prepared with results and measurements and retained in the maintenance logbook, right? Then we have engineered overcapacity lifts. So this would be CSA section 7.4. In some cases, facilities may need to lift loads beyond the rated capacity of the crane. These lifts are treated as special engineered events. They require an engineer approved lift plan, right? So the manufacturer should be consulted. Full records of the event must be kept. This ensures overcapacity lifts are controlled, documented, and not routine practice, right? That's the key here. An engineered overcapacity lift is not a routine practice, right? And we're not trying to get into a routine practice of overcapacity lifts. If you need to be lifting at overcapacity of your existing equipment, you've got the wrong equipment. You need something else, right? So some key takeaways here. New, modified, or reinstalled cranes must be commissioned and tested before use. Commissioning inspections must be approved by an engineer or qualified inspector, and records must be kept for the life of the crane. All motions, brakes, limits, and safety devices must be tested. Load testing is mandatory with structural deflection and 125% overload checks. Engineered overcapacity lifts require formal approval and documentation, right? So basically, no commissioning and load test, no compliance. One more thing I want to add is a crane that's been out of service for more than a year needs to be recommissioned. You can't just go there, switch it on, and continue, right? So if that thing hasn't been inspected while it's been standing, it needs to be recommissioned. So keep up with your inspections on big pieces of equipment, so you don't have to go through the costly expense of recommissioning, right? Bringing in weights or water weights and so on to complete a load test and make sure this crane is still good to go, right? So at Fenter Cranes, we provide commissioning, load testing with water weights. We also use solid weights. In some situations, it's not feasible to use water. And also CSA compliant documentation for new and modified cranes, right? All our training and information videos are available on YouTube on our channel Fenter Cranes, and follow us for more crane safety and maintenance insights. My name's Bradley Sliedrecht. I've been a crane technician since 1996. I'm also the president of Fenter Cranes, and thanks for joining me. I'll see you in the next video.